Hi, I'm John Street. I'm the managing editor at campusreform.org. Today I have Matt Lamb. He's the executive director of Students for Life Action. Matt, thanks for joining us today. It's great to have you on.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
So I really just wanted to get your sense as we head into this brand new school semester and brand new school year. What is on the Students for Life radar? What events, what activities, what issues are you guys looking at and what most focused on this semester and school year?
Sure. So heading back to campus, we're really doing a lot on this idea of post-Roe, when Roe v. Wade is reversed. Plenty of people pro-choice, pro-life, think it's very likely Roe will be reversed in the next couple of years. Of course, we have two new Supreme Court justices, and so the likelihood is increased. So on campus, we have over 1,220 high school and college groups. So we are actually going to be doing a fall display about post-Roe and what needs to be done in a post-Roe America. We're going to be showing the Unplanned movie on about 250 campuses, which is, of course, the movie about Abby Johnson, who was a Planned Parenthood director, became pro-life, and now runs basically a ministry to get people to leave the abortion industry.
Mm-hmm.
Great movie, came out a couple months ago. And really, Abby Johnson got her start while on campus. So our goal is we have to reach those same people who might be thinking they're pro-choice and making pro-life. Students for Life Action, which is our C4, is contacting actually Virginia voters across the country, Virginia voters, but we're rallying a lot of our groups from across the country because, as I'm sure you know, there's a midterm coming up in just a couple weeks. So anyone who wants to get involved, you can go to studentsforlifeaction.org and sign up there. And then we're actually preparing in January for our first ever National Pro-Life Summit. So instead of us just doing a conference, we're teaming up with groups like groups I'm sure your audience is familiar with, Live Action, Alliance Defending Freedom, Heritage Foundation, as well as lots of great other great sponsors to bring together not just students but congressional staff, 40 Days for Life leaders, pro-life activists at any level, and basically talk about what do we need to do to abolish abortion. So not just from a legal law standpoint, which is great. President Trump's done a great job. There's been great pro-life laws at the state level in places like Alabama and Georgia, of course. But also, what do we need to do to close abortion facilities on our own? And what do we need to do in the schools? What do we need to do in terms of providing resources to pregnant and parenting people, especially for us, pregnant and parenting students? So those are some of our big plans for the semester. The last thing is Kristen Hawkins is kicking off her speaking tour at Kent State on September 26th. And we're looking to go to 8 campuses in the fall with the same theme of what does a post-Roe America look like, and how do pro-life policies and pro-life politicians create a life-affirming, prosperous society? So a lot going on.
Yeah, sounds like it. Sounds like it. I want to go back to your point about showing the Unplanned movie at all of these college campuses. We've seen in the past where, Students for Life has done, these this displays of the graveyards for aborted babies. Those have been vandalized in the past. Other displays on college campuses show highlighting the issue of abortion have been vandalized and disrupted. Are you expecting any sort of disruptions, or do you anticipate any sort of disruption or any foul play when you at any of these campuses when you show the Unplanned movie?
Sure. We certainly hope not. We showed the Gosnell movie on about 90 campuses a couple months ago, and we didn't really seem to have any issues. The biggest issue we're running into is schools are saying because it's rated R. So Dartmouth University told us we couldn't show it outside on campus because someone might be offended by it and it's an R-rated movie. And we said, well, what if we just fast forwarded through the part that makes it R-rated, which is essentially they show what happens during an RU46 abortion, which would be great for Gavin Newsom, I think, to watch in California. But they made us show it inside, but otherwise we're not anticipating any other issue. And we really hope that people who are pro-choice will come and watch it and at least hear Abby's story, because Abby I mean, Abby worked at Planned Parenthood. She was a college student when she started interning there. So, her story is very similar to a lot of college students on campus. And so we do hope people will come and listen and see what the movie's about.
You mentioned Dartmouth giving you some complications with showing the movie. Did you get everything sorted out where you can show it at Dartmouth, and at other universities, have you run into any problems there?
That's the main thing, is showing it outside, because they're saying, well, families walk by. But we're going to be able to show it at Dartmouth inside. And as far as I know, no other schools have given us any trouble yet.
Okay. And then going to your point about Gavin Newsom, the governor of California, earlier, just to inform our audience, in case they're not aware at this point, the governor of California has indicated that he would sign a bill that just passed the California legislature, which essentially would require public colleges to offer abortion services. Now, this would be public taxpayer-funded abortion services on university campuses. What is your message to the governor of California and to the state legislature, those lawmakers who voted in favor of this bill? What is your message to them?
Sure. So as you mentioned, the legislation would basically make every health center hand out RU46 chemical abortion drugs. And
at taxpayer expense.
It's at taxpayer expense right away, because the health center is paid for by taxpayers. There's sort of some, it's not clear. They say they're going to raise it from private funders. It's the state of California, so their ability to do math, I'm a little skeptical of. So taxpayers or student fees, already, again, it's being subsidized because students are already paying for the health center staff. Sure. There's no way to say that, they're already paying for the health center staff to be there for healthcare services, flu shots and physicals and things like that. So it is paid for in some way or another by taxpayers. And what we've really tried to say is, one, from a fiscal level, poses a huge liability to the schools, because how the drugs work is you take them and it basically induces a miscarriage, but it's an abortion because you're purposely, causing the death of your preborn baby. And you pretty much just have to wait in a bathroom or a dorm room till baby essentially dies, and you pass it, deliver it, however you want to say it. That's a huge liability. The health center workers are not trained on how to do this. So we've warned the schools, you're putting yourself at risk, you will get sued. And then the other thing is conscience, right? So students, as you mentioned, being forced to pay for it, taxpayers, but also health center workers. So assume you're a nurse and you apply to work at a health center, a school, because you're like, hey, I'm motivated I want to make sure students are healthy, that their mental health issues are taken care of, that they're, we've all been to college, the temptation to just eat a bunch of junk food. I want to make, health center workers, I want to make sure they're eating right, they're exercising, that they're, getting their shots, they're getting regular checkups. They didn't sign up to work in an abortion mill. And last year when we brought this up, I forget who asked about it, but they asked Connie Leva, the sponsor, and they said, well, what are you going to do about the health center workers who say, I don't want to dispense RU46 drugs. I'm pro-life, or I'm uncomfortable with this. Mm-hmm. And she said, well, then they'll just have to find a new job. And what's interesting is I emailed the union that represents these workers at the health centers. And I said, hey, are you guys going to do anything? Because this state senator pretty much just said, if you don't hand out RU46, you're going to get fired and you don't have a right to a job here. And the unions didn't respond, didn't say anything. The last thing I think that's interesting, and we're exploring, legal options here, is basically what this law does, and we're near DC, so we're familiar with this process, and this pretty much what happened to Obamacare is the legislation just gives all of this authority to what's called a Commission on Women and Girls, which we don't believe the commission has that authority. The statute that created the commission said they're an advisory commission only. So it's kind of like the Congressional Budget Office. They mm-hmm. can do analysis. They can say, here, if you pass this law, this will be the effect on women's equality. Here are some ways you might be able to get more women involved in the STEM fields or corporate boards. But their statute says they cannot create policy. Mm-hmm. Basically what Connie Leva did, though, is transfer a bunch of power to the commission that it doesn't have. We believe basically to keep the cost down, to remove the liability, and to give the legislature some cover, which we're familiar with, right? Just handing over rulemaking to a bureaucrat. And so, yeah, we're going to continue fighting it. And, you know, if you are a health center worker or you are a student and you want to help us fight, reach out to us, nocampusabortions.com. You message us on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, Students for Life, and we can certainly use the help.
In California specifically, what is Students for Life doing to kind of combat this message of, you know, obtaining abortions and the availability of abortions? What are you guys doing to kind of, you know, combat that message and get the alternative message that you guys promote out there?
Sure. So we have over 90 groups. So we'll be going to campuses with those groups, and we'll be creating new materials on the dangers of RU46, as well as post-abortive resources, so people do go through this. We have a couple of videos from this wonderful woman, Marie, who actually is a pro-life nurse now, but she actually used RU46 drugs when she was younger, and has really been a great getting this message out there. And our other goal too is to go into all the health centers and with resources and basically make them allow us to put out pro-life resources and information on RU46, which they should be fine with. I mean, if you go to the doctor, your doctor is supposed to tell you, you know, here's the side effects of what you're going to do, and here's the potential dangers. And so we do believe that the health center should allow us to go in there and provide the complementary information, so that people going in there at least know that, you know, we're here to support them in choosing life.
And what complications are you facing now with not being able, or are you able to go in there now and do what you just said?
Sure. So some of our groups have already told us they've had issues putting brochures in there, and as we get more information, you know, we'll of course let Campus Reform know. And that's one of them. The bigger issue was that we had trouble meeting with one of the administrations, and I don't want to say which one because I forget which one we were able to meet with, but there's two, basically the CSU system and UC. One would meet with us, one wouldn't, which is really disappointing because those administrators are not supposed to be representatives of Planned Parenthood. They're supposed to be representatives of the educational interests of the state of California. And here we have students and some parents, because we worked with other pro-life groups, and taxpayers in California saying we want to express our opinion. And so it is really disappointing that the administration of one of the systems wouldn't meet with us and hear our concerns.
And just as we head into the school year, you know, you've mentioned the unplanned movie. You have the Graveyard of the Innocents displays planned across the country. I assume if you want to elaborate on plans for those and when we can expect to see those.
Sure. So every year, a lot of our groups do, like I said, Graveyard of Innocents, sometimes called Cemetery of the Innocents. And it's basically flags or crosses that, you know, signify each one, you know, however many babies were born that day or the year. I mean, it's just a really good way to show, you know, these babies had dignity, but also the women who had the abortions, you know, we need to reach out to them and help them with their healing. And every year someone destroys them. I mean, we have a map on our website, tracks all the vandalisms against pro-life groups on campuses. I think it was Northern Kentucky University, like 6 of the last 8 years, they've had their crosses destroyed. And their crosses were like wooden, nailed together crosses. These were not just like small plastic crosses. Someone went through a lot of work to destroy them. And that usually happens in October, which is generally recognized as Respect Life Month. So you know, we'll continue to train our students on how to film. I know Leadership Institute has been really helpful in providing a lot of groups cameras and training in how to handle controversies. And we'll continue to report on it and hold people accountable. One of our students, Ellie Whitman, was actually able to speak at President Trump's free speech ceremony a couple months ago, which I know Morton Blackwell and Leadership Institute was instrumental in making happen. And she was able to share her story. She had a lot of free speech issues at her schools, but one of them was her crosses getting stolen. So we'll continue to get that story out there, and with the help of, you know, groups like Campus Reform, you know, make sure this story is told.
here at Campus Reform, we've documented many of those instances where the crosses, the Cemetery of the Innocents displays have been destroyed or vandalized. Are you aware of, in those cases, are the majority of those are individuals held accountable for their actions in any cases, whether disciplinary by the college or vandalism charges on campus or otherwise?
So, that's unfortunately the problem is a lot of times the schools just kind of throw their hands up in the air, and they don't really, they might do kind of a, small investigation. Oh, we didn't find anything. We had one school I still haven't heard back from, Western Washington University. The students lit on fire a speaking tour banner for Kristen Hawkins' speech, which to me was a little bit ironic because they burned part of the environmental studies building. And so they were liberal students and they were burning environmental studies and burning probably a banner that was made of petroleum products. But we'd love actually like a real investigation into these things. Someone writes Trump 2020 on a wall and the state police will be coming in and there'll be biased investigators, but you burn a flag and it's sort of just like, life happens. So we'll continue to document it and continue to push schools to investigate it.
Well, certainly let us know if and when you see those instances occur. And, I want to thank you for taking the time out of your day to sit down with us and just kind of give us a little preview of what you're expecting and anticipating for this upcoming semester in the school year. We really appreciate it. Thank you very much for your time.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Oh, hey, I'm Calvin Phillips with Campus Reform. Thanks for watching that video. If you want to join our team, we're always looking for new investigators, correspondents, and tipsters. Go ahead and click right here to do that. If you want to donate to help us make more videos like the one you just watched, click right here. And if you want to subscribe to be among the first people to see all of our new videos right when they come out, click that button down there. Just pick one of them, whichever one looks nicest to you. This is just me trying to convince you to pick one of them. I would love if you did. I'd love you still if you don't, but that was weird. I'm gonna take my suit off for this next one. Oh, hey.